So today's version of the hard truth is it's not as simple as just copying someone else and what they're doing. If you're not getting the results that you think you should, let's step back, take a look in the mirror, and see where your mindset is.
Curious what business owners are doing to double revenue, have more cash flow, work less hours, and provide a better lifestyle for their family? Dive into the world of business growth that leads to guaranteed wealth. Your hosts, Dr. Laura Shwaluk and Jerry Kezhaya. Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals.
Joining us today is David Asarnow, and of course, my best guest, Dr. Laura. I'm Jerry Kezhaya, and welcome to Business Builders.
Welcome to the Business Builders Intensive. So, David, would you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what you're into today? Basically, what qualifies you to talk to us and our guests about looking in the mirror?
Oh my gosh, you bringing that up gives me a flashback to when I was a speaker, trainer, and coach for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes, and I'd introduce Tony and Chet, and then I'd ask this question: "Hey, any of you curious who I am and why I'm even qualified to teach you this information today?" And people would say, "Yes, I would." I said, "Well, back then I could say the past 15 years I've had an amazing company called Business Nitrogen. We get to serve a lot of entrepreneurs, building, growing, scaling." Taking from 7 to 8 figures, 8 figures to high 8 figures. I even have one client been with for 15 years. It's crossed 9 figures. I can't claim credit for that. They've done all the work. Before that, I'll go way back. I had an opportunity. I was an employee. I was an entrepreneur before I became an entrepreneur. And I worked for a 50-year-old company that did 68 million in revenue. And when I was in my late 20s, they gave me an opportunity to start a new division for the company. And I just read this book by Jerry Porras um, uh, called Built to Last. And it talked about companies that really created something amazing, had a big, hairy, audacious goal. And so I created a big, hairy, audacious goal. And I asked my manager, the guy who was executive vice president of the company, gave me the opportunity. I said, "Do you want to see what I'm going to be speaking on and the vision for this new division?" And he said, "No, I'm really busy. I trust you." And by the way, that's very interesting because I said, "Are you sure you don't want to see it? I'm really excited to share." And he said, "No, go ahead." Meanwhile, I get up there and I talk a big, hairy, audacious goal, and I talk about the change we're going to create in this company and industry. And within the next 5 years, I'm going to have the largest division of the company. Granted, this company, 68 million, has been around for 50 years and they had two divisions. Meanwhile, the owner's in the back of the room looking at me like, and then he looks at Mark, and I can see all this going on. And then Mark's eyes get like, little like he's steaming. Anyway, I continue on. The whole room's laughing at me. Fast forward 2 years later, we're at $22 million in revenue, 45 million within 5 years. By the way, at the end of the presentation, Mark pulls me in his office, starts yelling at me, and I said, "I asked you if you wanted to see it." He started going, but he said, and then he says, "You better effing do it." And so anyway, fast forward, we did. I left there and had an opportunity to acquire the first all digital portrait studio chain in the United States. We rebranded it and we franchised it. So we raised some capital, bought it from private equity. They got some stock in the new company and we grew that. And within 5 years, we were we were the largest, but we became franchise company. We made within 2 years, we were in the Franchise 500 of fastest growing franchise companies. I was featured as a young gun of franchising, got opportunity to speak. And the interesting thing is I was invited to a CEO roundtable because of the results we were having. And this goes to the hard truth situation. Uh, we were scaling and they're like, "How are you doing it? The economy." And this is 2008. I'm like, "What do you mean the economy? I'm not having any problems." And it's funny, until I heard about what was going on, I tuned out the noise. And I was just reading a book this weekend, The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. I don't know if you ever read it. It was a long time ago. It was written in the 20s or 30s. And he was talking about in the book this exact thing, and it hit me that the reason I was able to grow and scale is I did not hear any noise. I didn't hear anything that was going on, and there were no excuses. And that's why it's so important what we think about, what we read, and what we do, because that's going to determine the trajectory of who we are as people, the relationships that we have, and our business. And so I thought that that was interesting hearing about that. And it got me a flashback because once I did have some struggles, I started seeing some things differently, but I didn't see until someone else pointed out, why are you succeeding while we're not? And they point the flashlight on what I should be looking at supposedly. And so that's, when you go to the hard truth and we look at our businesses, I've had so many people over the years say, hey, you've got a lot of these 8-figure awards. You've gotten a lot of 7-figure funnels. Can you just build me one? I don't know. Well, can't you just copy this person's? Yeah, I can copy it. Doesn't mean you're going to get $1 in revenue. And they don't get it.
Right.
Is it the term? I don't know if people are going to connect with you. I don't know what your mindset is. These people who achieve this success, they've done something where they've been able to create that in their life because of how they think, the actions that they take, the things that go on all the time. And it's not just snap your fingers and make it happen.
Amen, brother. It's a fun thing to talk about. I had that same exact kind of thing happen to me. I bought this building, huge building, and I was moving my auto repair shop into this building. And we were going from 15,000 square feet to 35,000 square feet, right? To give you an exact, that means like you can put 110 cars inside the building,
Wow,
right?
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I took the blueprints, the line drawings to one of my mentors who also was in the auto repair business. And I said, take a look at what I'm building. Look at this. And he opened it up and looked at it. He said, are you out of your mind? You're going to go broke. You'll never be able to afford this overhead. And
Yeah.
that was almost 35 years ago. And of course, I'm still in the building and we're still doing incredibly well. And I was like, dude, you don't get it. You just don't get it. And then I learned something. Other people will never get it because it's my vision.
It's your vision. You
It's
just
my
got it.
vision. It's not his vision or your vision or anybody else's. It was my vision. And I had to rally the troops. Your BHAG, here's my BHAG, guys. We're going to make this son of a gun work. And we're going to bust our ass until it does. And it's going to do really, really well. And again, 35 years later, here we are. I work 1 day a week now in that
That's
big old building.
amazing. It's funny you tell me that story, and I just got a flashback to when I was 4 years old.
Oh,
My grandfather, when I was 3, sold everything with my grandmother. She was 49, he was 50. They said they were going to become entrepreneurs. Now, I don't remember that part, but I do remember them leaving and going down to Florida, and they bought this little business. And I remember actually they were renting attic space in Florida in Tampa, and all I remember, it was really hot up there. And about 2 years later, I was probably about 6 or 7, and he had just bought a building. It was a mostly warehouse with a little office space. And I remember asking him, I'm like, why did you buy this? And it's so big. And he said, because one day I'm going to fill it, and one day we're going to be the largest in the country doing this. Now, he didn't become the largest. It was an orthotics and prosthetic shop. Although before he retired, he was the largest in the Southeast United States and was well known. So that happened over, 17 years. He was able to create that, which is pretty amazing.
bravo. Good for him.
So you telling that story reminded me of my grandfather because he had a vision
Uh-huh.
and he filled it. He did, and it was a great business for him.
You
So
know,
there's a couple of parts to this, because one is if what's working or if what you want isn't happening for you, look in the mirror, but then also look at what you're saying. That's a huge part of it that you just touched on. It's like, what are you saying? Are you saying it in such a way that people catch your vision, or are you saying it in such a way that people are catching your doubt?
Yes, and if you have any doubt, everything's going to go to the doubt. You have to be so clear in what your vision is, and not only how you communicate it to other people, what you're saying to yourself in your unconscious or subconscious mind.
oh my God, that's the biggest point ever. I can't stress to people enough, David, to watch, pay attention, listen to what you say to yourself and the way you speak to yourself. You know, I just the other day, I was talking to a group of guys and I said, you know, everybody here in the room, I guarantee you, we all beat ourselves up so badly, right? And if a stranger ever came up and said 1/10 of the things that we tell ourselves, you'd punch them square in the nose.
You're right.
Right? And yet we do this to ourselves every day, all day long, right? There's some crazy number like 64,000 thoughts a day, and 85% of them are negative. And of those 85% that are negative, 90% are the same thoughts you had the same day, or the
day before.
The day before. And we're wondering, why am I struggling with this? Right? So the mental chatter that we have that goes on all day long, we've got to learn how to harness it. We've got to learn how to reprogram it, change it from a negative Nelly into positive Pete, and really just keep telling yourself, really good, hey, dude, you got this, right? We're doing well. We're doing well. We're gonna do. I don't care what he said. It doesn't matter what he said. That's his belief, where he's coming from. I know we can keep this business going. We can keep the building functional. We're not going broke. We're going to, you know, just all of this stuff has to be repeated to yourself all day long, every day. Mindset. That's mindset.
Yes. And you might sound like a stuck record, and you might think, oh, well, I told them once already. I told them what my vision is. They know what it is. No, they don't. They have forgotten it the moment you told them. So you have to just keep saying it, keep inspiring you until they can repeat it back to you. And that's when you know they have it.
When you have your employees able to quote the company purpose and its core values, now you got your team heading in the right direction.
You're partially there. You're partially there.
You're headed in the right direction.
You're headed in the right direction. I've done that where I've been speaking on leadership and core values, and I'll often ask, and I've asked this in an audience of hundreds of people, and I'll say, how many of you have company core values? And more than half the hands will go up. I said, how many of you will be willing to come right up on stage in front of the room and tell us your core values and why they're your core values and what they mean to you right now? Usually less than one hand is still up. And I've had people do that in the audience, and I'll raise my hand and I'll like, really, you can recite them? I'm like, not only can I, but here's my daughter next to me in this event. Why don't you ask her what the core values are? You don't have to ask me. She knows them. And I've had her stand up, and if they gave me the mic, but I gave them to her, because it doesn't matter what I can do, but she's on my team. She can do it and talk about how we use it, which then means a heck of a lot more, which exactly what you're saying. You're at least going in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more to it. You can't just repeat this little message and then, oh, we're going to win now. Oh, no. You got to be able to back it up too, right?
And you got to take a lot of massive action. And I remember years ago, and it's a friend of mine who actually lives in Dallas now. And she was one of my salespeople. And I just told her this story the other day. I said, do you remember when you came up to me and you're like, David, have you read this book called The Secret? And I said, yeah, I have. She's like, well, I'm going to go buy myself a brand new Mercedes. And I'm like, you are? She said, yeah, The Secret says that if I do it, then all of a sudden I'll be able to afford it. I said, can I ask you a question? She's like, sure. I said, how are you going to pay for it? Well, The Secret says, and I said, well, here's the thing. I know what you make, and I know what your commission is. So I have an idea. I said, I believe in The Secret and the power of the mind. I said, but I also believe in action. So I said, why don't you reward yourself when you take the action and say, yeah, I'm going to buy that car. In order to do that, I need to sell this. And when I sell this, I'll make this commission. Once you do that for 90 days in a row, then go buy your car. And I told her that. She's like, oh my gosh, I remember that conversation. And anyway.
That's fantastic.
And of course she did end up buying the Mercedes, right?
No, she didn't buy the Mercedes.
What did she do instead?
Never brought it up again.
Yeah.
Well, as I said, take these actions. And I would occasionally say, hey, how the sales coming? You're near your goal? No. I said, well, I don't, because that's someone else. It's like we get excited about things, and it's easy to get excited about things. And one of the things, it's all about accountability and responsibility. If we want to create something, we got to think about it. We have to be very clear. And I often tell people this, that, if we come up with something that we want to create, that means that God wants it for us. But he's not just going to give it to us. We got to take the actions. We've been given the opportunity. The question is, are we now going to do the things that we need to do? I was speaking last month to a group. I ran a 45-person mastermind, and I asked, we were talking a lot about faith and belief. And I said, how many of you believe that you could do more and that you want to do more and you want to make a greater impact? And I said, everyone raised their hand. I said, how many of you have had this feeling for years? And yet you see someone else now who's speaking what you should be teaching about, what you should be helping other people with, and you see them have millions and millions of views. And they said, almost everyone said yes. I said, does it get you upset a little bit? And everyone said yes. I said, but here's the thing. You have that opportunity. You God gave you that opportunity. The problem is you didn't step into it. So because of that, someone else has it. Doesn't mean you can't do it today. You just have to start now. And so much of this is belief and taking massive action and putting the blinders on and not hearing all the noise and what everyone else says and just doing it.
Yep, absolutely. And we joke about that. This weekend we were in Phoenix for a birthday party. And so we're meeting new people. And this one gal comes up to my wife and I, and she starts saying how much she wants a relationship like the relationship that we have. And then I noticed my wife, my wife starts telling her about, oh, well, here's a class that I would highly recommend. And this woman completely poo-pooed the idea of taking the action that it would require, right? So I see a lot of people want what we have, but they're not willing to do the work that it takes to get what we have. And so there's a lot of this going on, right? And not a lot of the action that it takes. And that's you hit it spot on, my friend. You have to take the key to everything is massive action. You got to have the right mindset, but you got to be still taking the action to get there.
Oh, I mean, it happens all the time that people, shoot down the idea. Oh, can you help me with this? Yeah, do this. Nah, I want this, but I don't want to do that. Okay, why are you even asking me? But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, people come out to the ranch and go, oh my God, this is so beautiful. How'd you do this? I worked my butt off. I wired money in. That's how I did it. Oh, how'd you get the money? Did you sell your house? Why would I sell my house?
We see this in all areas of life. We see this with finances. We see this with people who want to retire. They're like, oh, yeah, I want to retire. And yet they didn't put money away for retirement or investments. We see this with people with their health. We see that if it's weight loss, they didn't take the actions to do weight loss, or they didn't take the actions to increase their muscle mass, or to do an amazing hike like that you're going on soon. And I'll have you tell just a story about how that got started. But it's the step before the actions is being really clear on what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And even before that, it's getting very clear on your thinking, your mindset. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'd like to have that, but they're not clear on the inside. They have, whether it's some hurt, some regret, some abuse, something, some kind of a belief within them that they are either not worthy or can't or don't deserve or doubt.
Yeah.
They may believe they're not loved. They believe that, and some people listening might say, oh, I don't have any of that. Well, we started off with saying, if you don't have what it is that you want, then looking in the mirror is the hardest place to look, but that is the first place to look.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is.
And so, David, I want you to tell us about this amazing hike that you are going on with your son. How did that get started? Yeah.
We're going to Nepal on the Mansulu circuit, which I've been read is harder than Everest Base Camp. We're going to the Mansulu Base Camp day trip up to the Tibet border and then back around, going up to um, uh, 15,500 feet, all without oxygen.
Oh, God.
So it happened because Josh, my son, who's going to be 25, is traveling Asia. He's hiking Asia. He's in China right now. In fact, I mentioned earlier when we're offline that he called us at 4 a.m. from Shangri-La, which it was beautiful. And he's like, Dad, wouldn't it be cool if we did a father-son trip? We did a father-son trip and we went hiking and outdoorsy things when he was 12 years old. And
Mm.
so he just turned 25. And he's like, Dad, we went to Vegas. We went up through all the canyons. We went up to Zion Canyon. We did all outdoorsy things. And at 12 years old, he thought Las Vegas was Epcot and every casino was a country. And so he's like, Dad, why don't you join me and we'll do the trip? He's like, let me do my trip and then I'll at the end of it, you can join me and we'll do something. I said, great, let's go do something like I've never been to Vietnam or Thailand and there's a lot of outdoor stuff and we can go do that. And first it was, yeah. And then he says, Dad, I've changed my mind. I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm going to
Oh.
do that on my own. He's like, we got to do something more adventurous. And I said, so what are you thinking? He said, why don't we go hike the Himalayas? Let's go to Nepal. I'm like,
Oh.
what? And he said, yeah, let's just do something adventurous. And Dad, I got to tell you this, doing the Peloton and yoga isn't going to cut it. So you better start training now. And he's right.
How many miles do you hike each week? What are you doing? What are you up to now?
I don't like last night was a light night. I put on my 30-pound backpack and I just walked on the streets and on grass and stuff like that, which is not a huge elevation climb. And I about 3 to 5 miles a day, and then on weekends, 2 or 3 times a week, I'll go do a climb where it's 1,400 to 2,200 elevation climb, and I've still got 50 days, 45 days, and yeah,
Oh
40,
boy.
47 days till we go. So my goal is at least by then I'll get up to 5 to 8 miles a day. And then on weekends, I'm doing 2 to 3,000 at least 2 days a week.
That's
So that should
amazing.
Wow.
the only thing everyone says is, well, you're not going to be prepared for the elevation.
Mhm.
I went to Park City. I did 3 days in a row there. First day I felt it a little bit, but after that I was fine.
Mm.
And on day three, I was just like I could have kept going. So I'm not as concerned about. What actually concerns me is on this trip, we have to cross canyons, and it's a single person um, suspension bridge,
Oh,
300 meters, and I don't like heights.
Oh yeah.
So that actually concerns me more than anything else. So, but I'll be fine. You got to
This is
face your
the
fear.
perfect this is the perfect analogy of the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur gets an idea and says, "Oh, I'm going to sell this gadget, this widget, this service. I'm going to do this." And then they realize, "Oh my
oh,
gosh,
oh.
I need somebody to do this vision with me." And so they find somebody to do this with them because alone, it's not going to work so good.
And I'm scared to death.
And then you got to train for it. You got to put in the steps. You got to put in
You
all
got to
the
have a coach and mentor to help you.
yes,
Right?
you do. You got it's exactly. You have to have all of these steps, and then you're going to come across some things that look really, really scary.
A
Until
300-meter freaking suspension bridge.
free fall. And some things as an entrepreneur look really scary. Like the first loan I got, then I wasn't sure if I was going to pay that one back. How was I going to do that? A building loan. Yeah, all of the things that until you've been through it, sometimes can look really, really scary. And it takes that belief. It takes having a team, a community of people, and it takes that massive action to make things work so that when you look at the results, you can honestly look in the mirror and say, yeah, not only did I do that, we did that. This is something we did. And here, I got the photos and the scars to show you.
And that is such a perfect analogy. And there's one other thing that you need, and it's like what you
Okay.
guys provide for your audience. You need a Sherpa.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to have a Sherpa that is going to be guiding us. And such as you're the Sherpa for such a good community that you help people.
And the difference between using your term, the Sherpa, the difference between a coach and a mentor. Coach will tell you what to do. A mentor will tell you what not to do, because we already made those mistakes.
The Sherpa has already been there and done it a lot of times and has guided a lot of people.
Yeah.
The coach, often they have never actually even been there. They've never built a business. They've never actually done something to been in those shoes.
Yeah.
So that's,
It-
yeah.
It's funny you bring that up. I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, and they they were looking at my business versus someone else, and the other person's business that they're looking at, they're in their early 20s. And I said, I have a feeling that based that we're even having this conversation, you probably should go work with the other company.
What did they say?
But we could all work together. I said, no, I think you should go with the other company, because something that you just said, they may do a really good job, and I think that they could and they would. There's certain people who are looking for that experience, someone who's been there, who's done it multiple times and can see those blind spots and know not where to go because of that. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it is. It saved. We just had a client the other day was talking to us about buying a building, buying a second business, a failing business, and the building that it was in, and the owner of the business and the building was really pushing a hard close on the guy.
Mm.
And honest to God, I talked him out of it. I said, please don't do this. Don't do this to yourself. I said, here's a different idea. Just put the brakes on this deal. Go back, take your business, because his business was only running at about a 40% efficiency. I said, take your business, get it up to 80, 90, 95%, start stockpiling cash, and in 2 years, you'll write a check for that building and that business. And you'll pay. I said, I want you to know, I've done the calculations. We're saving you over $3 million just in interest on the
Wow.
loan. Okay. So you can keep the 3 million in your pocket, or you can put the 3 million in Bank of America's pocket. Which way is a better deal?
Which one's going to get you better ROI?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, my boy he's kicking butt right now. He's increasing the efficiency of his company. He's stockpiling cash, and he's just like, I can't thank you enough. I had no idea what I was doing.
That's
And
awesome.
and again, it's just the conversation, because we've been there. We've done this how many times over, 50 years, right? And you kind of learn a few things, and I'm just honored to be in a position to be able to share them with folks and let them know here's a different way of looking at things.
Isn't
Right.
that so much fun to be able to just little things it's life experience. We've been through so much, we've seen so much, we've experienced so much that it's fun just to be able to help people that way.
Oh, I love it. It's like the highlight of my day, man. The highlight of my life is being able to support people making good decisions and stop people from making dumb decisions.
So, David, at this point, tell us again the name of your business and how best, if somebody would like to work with you, the best contact information, how can they reach you?
Well, businessnitrogen.com is my company.
Perfect.
davidasarnow.com if someone wants me to speak at an event. And if they want to connect with me personally on Instagram, Real David Asarnow, or on Facebook, but it's Real David Asarnow.
And what are the main outcomes that people get when they work with you? Tell us a little bit more.
Well, it depends. In Business Nitrogen, we're a business growth incubator. So if in that regard, our goal is to help someone build, grow, and scale, put the systems in place, automations wherever we can, leveraging artificial intelligence as much as you can. So there's two components. One is business growth strategy, mentorship, consulting. There's some people who just want that. Then there's people like, hey, go take this and go have your team run with it. If they need a done for you side of it, I do have my agency that does a lot of work in companies that I have ownership in that I let clients leverage. And so we do a lot of implementations for clients. And then I also have an AI company outside of this. And so we'll do AI implementations on the sales and marketing side of things.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Great.
So that just really helps them automate and be efficient and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks.
Well, the idea is clear communication. AI is absolutely magnificent, and most people don't harness near the power of it. I speak and do workshops on artificial intelligence, and I've read things, and people are like, "Well, AI is making the world dumb." I said, "Yeah, AI is making the world dumb because people are putting something in Chat GPT and saying, write this." I got together with a friend a week ago or last Friday, and he's a really smart guy. I mean, he's one of the top thought leaders, and he built a custom GPT to help leverage him. And he's like, it's just not working. I said, well, let's look at your core instructions. And and by the way, core instructions is telling it how to think, how to act, how to emote, everything. And I said, well, here's a framework that I use, and it was a 5-part framework. We spent 45 minutes just working through 5 questions on a 5-part framework in order to come up with a new core instruction. By the time we were done, it was over an hour. And I said, now the final fifth step in my process is refinement. Ask me questions one at a time, one, two, three, four, five, whatever you need, in order so that way you can test me on your assumptions to make sure that your outcome is the right. And every time it's like, wow, that's a great question. Yeah, now you have to think through how you want the computer to think. So many times I'll tell people like so and so on the team may not have done a good job. Well, then we have to look at ourselves and say, how did we not explain it well enough? Because with artificial intelligence, I said, put it in AI, see what answer you get. Because if you weren't clear, artificial intelligence can't give you the answer. But if you're really clear there, it can give you an answer, which means a human can give you the answer too. So it's like teaching people how to think differently and realizing that with GPT 5.0, we now have over a 200 IQ sparring partner that can make us sharper, that can make us better, that can get us better results faster if we know how to utilize it the best way possible. So anyway, yes, how do we help people? You can tell I'm geeking out. I have fun with this stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what we do. And if I have got a great newsletter, if people want that, they can just subscribe on our website. I'm doing a whole new series I'm working on right now, biblical lessons within business and taking business concepts and then going back into stories from the Bible and connecting them together so we can think differently. I mean, we talked open today about mindset. Think about David and Goliath,
Mhm.
right? He had to believe. Daniel in the lion's den. He had to believe that God was going, an angel was going, God and sent an angel. So you think about all these things tying from the Bible to today and how we think and realizing how important mindset is. And there's so many lessons out there if we take the time to look at it.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to summarize just a little bit here before we go. And the hard truth. Do you want to say the hard truth again?
The hard truth is you have to do more than just copy what someone else is doing. You got to make sure this part's working. Your mindset is in the right direction. Your heart's got to be good too. You got to just, there's more to it than just copy. You can't do that today.
And there's actually 4 steps that we talked about. One is your beliefs, your thinking. The next is what you're speaking out into the universe.
Right? Massive action. You got to take massive action. Just sitting on your butt. You know what? I want to be 50 pounds lighter, but if I keep eating bones and pizza, it ain't going to happen.
And not just take massive action, it's having a guide help you so that you take the right massive action.
And more importantly, the right guide. You must know that the guide you're picking is the right person that actually has the experience that you require to help you get launched and get scaled.
And so we end every episode with asking our audience a question. And my question for our audience today is, do you have all 4 of those in place? Because if you don't have what it is that you want with your business, if you're not to the scale that you want, then which one of those can you alter? Can you restructure? Can you learn about so that you can have whatever it is that you want? You can reach out to David at businessnitrogen.com or reach out to us. I'm Dr. Laura, and this is Jerry, and you can reach us at BBMMUSA.com. That's B as in boy, B as in boy, M as in Mary, M as in Mary, USA.com. Thanks for listening.
And David, thank you so much for being our guest today. As
Thank you.
always, We love chatting with
It's
you,
a
and
delight to
and
be with you.
good luck on your hike with your son. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any
Thanks for having me.
final words that you want to say or add before we go?
I want to thank you for having me here. And if anyone's listening, they should check you out. I've been in this space, and I've been in, for nearly 40 years in the business world. And, reputations mean something, and you guys have an amazing reputation out there and what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you serve people. So anyone who's listening to this should check you guys out and what you're offering.
You're kind. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
My
All right,
pleasure.
my friend. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Grow and get answers to your business and investment questions that provide clarity, move you forward, and inspire you to reach your goals. Share the show and connect with us at BBMMUSA.com to submit questions and learn more. That's BBMMUSA.com.